Now to a story you will only see on 10 Tampa Bay. 10 Investigates is taking a closer look at what led to a crash on one of our area's busiest bridges that sent a car flipping over the edge. Now, you might remember this shocking video. It shows a car speeding, then crashing into an SUV on the Howard Franklin Bridge, pushing that car into a guardrail.
In an exclusive interview, 10 Investigates' Jennifer Titus spoke with the man whose dash cam caught that whole thing. And Jenny says this is a moment he will not ever forget.
No, he won't. He told us after the crash, he pulled over on the side of the road to make sure everybody was okay. And he tells me that that guardrail was just completely obliterated. It did nothing to absorb any energy from the crash. 10 Investigates has learned that that guardrail was incorrectly installed. This comes after the Secretary of the Florida Department of Transportation told us all of the guardrails had been fixed.
Comes right in front of you.
Yep. There he goes.
The usual route home from work.
Tries to go to the right, tries to go to the left.
Turned quickly horrifying.
Hits the vehicle and it goes flying over the barrier.
The crash on the Howard Franklin Bridge all caught.
Speed it up a little bit.
On Donald Schnell's dash cam.
The first time I had a real chance to use the dash cam for any good. I mean, I've seen a lot of bad drivers, but this is the first accident I caught on camera.
His reaction led him to pull over and make sure those involved in the crash were okay.
It opened up so wide I didn't even know there was a guardrail there until I walked down there. I seen a big chunk of it hanging off to the right.
One woman seriously injured in the crash. Her SUV was pushed into a guardrail that did nothing to absorb the energy of the crash. That's because 10 Investigates learned the guardrail was improperly installed.
Essentially, you see a bunch of extra holes right at that location.
Structural engineer Dr. Kevin Schrum says if a guardrail is designed correctly, it will work as a guard and redirect the car upon impact.
That's a very critical feature of guardrail design. But ultimately, by putting holes in the system, you do a couple of different things to weaken the integrity of the rail.
Last year, after 10 Investigates spent months looking into improperly installed guardrails across the state, the Florida Department of Transportation did a full review of thousands of miles of guardrail. The secretary even commenting on our findings last month.
We quickly moved to make sure they were installed the right way, and we've put a lot of programs in place to ensure that those contractors and vendors installing that guardrail are doing it properly in the future. So that is not an issue here in Florida.
Yeah. But then there is a crash like this, and a guardrail exposed.
In their defense, this is something that's kind of in the middle of the rail. It really doesn't stand out, but this kind of illustrates some of the other problems that we face. It's in these minutia, like the details themselves don't always seem to be all that important. Otherwise, if you knew the guardrail was going to rupture and kill or hurt somebody, you wouldn't compromise it. I wouldn't think that you would do that. So I think it comes down to lack of understanding or training or knowledge on a deeper level.
And we did reach out to the Florida Department of Transportation about the guardrail at the crash site, but we are still waiting to hear back. Some advocates tell us that the state would really benefit from a guardrail garden, which is a training facility that allows contractors to come in and train in a controlled environment. Sources tell us that is something that Florida has talked about, but we are still waiting to hear back from the Department of Transportation for any confirmation on that. For now, I'm Jennifer Titus, 10 Investigates.
And for more than a year now, 10 Investigates has been checking out potentially problematic guardrails that are lining our roads as part of our series Unguarded. Because of our reporting, the state launched a statewide review that uncovered 1/3 of the state's guardrails needed to be repaired or replaced. It's all part of a 30-minute special you can watch right now streaming on 10 Tampa Bay Plus.